Right, yes, ages back, second video, after putting up my first one last week. Couldn't believe the comments, how many there was, how many people seem to actually enjoy it. Obviously, I can't say you've got taste, but anyway, I thought I'd do another one. You did ask for one, so here we go. A couple of things I want to focus on. One is a slight cautionary tale, and the second is, as I mentioned before, a few people had asked what my badge was about, so I'm going to cover those two things today. The first one is pouring, something that I've been doing, probably I've done it 3 or 4 times now, something I really enjoy as a hobby. I've created a few little bits and pieces that I like, and a couple of those things I've sent out to people that have asked for them. It's not something I'm going to do for, to make any money, not a chance of that, but it is a hobby I enjoy, and eventually I may get into sort of pouring some silver, but that's a long way away from now, especially after the last pour that I attempted. So I poured some copper at the weekend, and it was the first time I poured copper. I was quite happy with some of the results I got, one of which was this. So really rustic, rough, but it's definitely got some character. So poured that, and I'm not sure, but I can see an alien's head in there. Lots of really weird lines. Not sure if the camera's picking it up. So yeah, lots of weird lines. Only quickly polish it up a little bit, but I just like some of the effects that it's come out with. So the copper was mixed results. Poured a couple of other bits. One come out half decent. Another bit I'd run out of copper. Can't believe how much copper you need to get a decent pour. But the second attempt, I thought, while the furnace is on, I'm going to pour some aluminium. Again, something I've had mixed results with. I only use sort of second-hand cans that we've got through, and it takes quite a lot of cans to get anywhere. So I had the first pour, come up with a couple of little bits. So this is a mould I got from Scottish Silver. Tried to polish it up a little bit. Came out just about okay. Also poured this, which I quite like. Again, just a mould I got from Scottish Silver. But onto the cautionary tale. Was running out of gas and probably rushing a little bit to sort of try and get one more really decent pour out. So was pushing in loads and loads and loads of cans. Had loads of aluminium. So I was thinking this is possibly going to be my best pour. Avoided most of the dross that you normally get. Lots of dross normally, half of what goes in at least seems to come out as dross. So I was just pouring loads of cans in, and had probably the biggest crucible of aluminium. Looked really clean, looked like it was going to be the best pour. So as I say, I was rushing a little bit, got it all ready, went to pour, and as soon as I poured, it hit the mould, and there was the biggest bang, an explosion of aluminium I've heard so far. So I've moved back quickly, but I knew straight away that some had hit me in the head. So I've now got a nice, well, let's just say I've got a nice burn mark on the head, and also lots of singed hair, and singed hair doesn't smell very nice. So I know lots of you out there are going to be wanting to pour. You've asked me sort of things to do. This is definitely a case of things not to do. I did have goggles on, luckily. If I didn't, it could have possibly hit me in the eye. Luckily, the goggles protected my eyes, but it did actually push it up onto the forehead. So quite hot, got to be honest. But then my reaction was pretty quick, so I pulled out of the way very quickly. So I think I was quite lucky in that respect. But I did put the crucible down quite quickly because I was still holding it at that point. And let's just say we've got some tarpaulin. That burned pretty quickly. So there was a big hole in the tarpaulin, and ended up with a really nice plate of aluminium, which I should have really got ready to show here because the effect of that was quite strange. But So the one good thing, I suppose, is there's lots of clean aluminium that I had to peel off the floor. So that will be useful for the next pour. My wife did ask if it's put me off from doing it, and if anything, it's actually made me more determined to make sure I get it right, not to make silly mistakes. The only thing I can think of is either there was a little bit of moisture in the mould, so when it hit the mould, that's what caused the explosion. Or it could be that where I was throwing in the cans, there was some moisture in the cans or some air in the aluminium itself. So that's made me more determined to make sure that any cans I do use are all dry. I've just been pouring them in, as I say, pushing loads in, and that was probably the mistake there. If I was running out of gas, I should have just left it there and then, but I was just determined to get as much out of it as I could. So I've learned my lesson. I will be ordering a face mask rather than just goggles, and I won't be getting so close to the pour itself. I was trying to be so precise, so I was very close to the mould and pretty much over straight, which obviously there was a mistake. So next time it might not be as precise, but I won't be directly over the mould. So I've learned my lesson there. Is it put me off, as I say? No, not at all. So I will be doing more. Hopefully my forehead won't take the brunt next time. So as I said, the second thing I wanted to focus on very quickly is just to go over my channel badge and how that came about. Not sure if that's focused. Right, there we go. So obviously I spoke, as I mentioned in my first video, I spoke to TSC, just asked him what software he uses. He asked what idea I had in mind, so I gave him that. So really it's about the T-Rex more than anything, but I'll go on to that in a sec. Wanted something that just showed, obviously, my initials, which work out really nicely for the full name of Gold Silver Hunter. So we got them in pretty straightforward. I quite like the coin at the bottom, but part of the idea was sort of almost Lord of the Rings, someone holding loads of gold and silver. For me it's silver, definitely not gold. Love loads of more gold, but obviously with the prices recently, that's not completely unattainable, but you know, it's difficult obviously. So, you know, Gold Silver Hunter really works well with the initials. Eventually it'd like to be Gold Silver Holder, but long way from that. But I didn't want to put in a dragon. You know, dragon's been done, you know, so it was just a case of adding the T-Rex. So as I said, TSE went away, put that together for me, come back perfectly. But the reason it's a T-Rex is really, as I sort of touched on before, was just to amuse my wife. And how this came about was just literally one comment I made probably about a year and a half ago. I was training for a white collar boxing match, and what I found is everyone I was sparring was, you know, either my weight or slightly taller. All of them generally seemed to have longer arms than me. So literally all I did one day was come back and said, you know, I've got bloody arms like a T-Rex, you know. And ever since then, my wife now has, you know, picked up on that, you know, making lots of comments about my short arms. They're not actually that short, supposedly. But I was coming back with, you know, the odd black eye here and there, you know, lots of sparring, probably about 5 or 6 people I sparred, and only one probably had the same length arms as me. So generally it's a case of had to go in, get 3 punches to get my one in. So yeah, susceptible to the odd black eye, because obviously I had to go in to get, you know, a whack. But ever since then, you know, she's always bought lots of little T-Rexes for Christmas presents. She knows it winds me up, but it really amuses her. So that's the main reason why the T-Rex is in. I might actually put a video on at the end of a little bit of my white collar fight. Amazingly, I did win. You know, I was up against a kid that was, let's just say, well, more than 3 decades younger than me. But it was a bucket list item for me to do. I wanted to do it in memory of a couple of family members, you know, raise quite a bit of money for it. Would I like to do it again? Definitely. The buzz of fighting in front of about 1,500 people was one of the biggest buzzes I've had ever, to be honest. So I would love to do it again, but my body now is at the point where it's pretty much given up the ghost. So I think that's unlikely. But yeah, so that's really the story. Short arms equals T-Rex, and lots of amusement for my wife. So yeah, I can't take myself too seriously, but if nothing else, it did really come out with a cool channel badge. So that's all. Keep on stacking, everyone.